My little brother is actually my fiancé's kid. My fiancé 25 male and myself 24 female have been together since we were 17-18 years old. Honestly, he was always kind, handsome, funny, and everyone used to say I was so lucky to have the whole package. I felt so lucky too. He always treated me with love and respect. So this makes everything just so shocking for me. I have always had a good relationship with my mom. It has always been her and I against the world. My dad died in an accident when I was little. We always joked we are the real-life Rory and Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. My mom dated guys on and off, and they were usually cool, but nothing really past the early stages. Around 4 years ago, my mom told me she was pregnant, which was a huge surprise. My mom was around 42 years old, and although she was sort of dating someone recently, didn't meet the guy, but knew she went on dates, it still was a big shock. She never thought she could be pregnant at her age. She had me when she was super young, unpoised, and I can tell she was stressed and worried. I decided to support her since she has always supported me and tried to reassure her. She then had my brother, who is now 3 years old. I have a close relationship with my brother. I have helped taking care of him since he was born, and I just love the little guy. My fiancé was also always helpful with my brother. We would take him out for ice cream, playground, pool time during summer, etc. But nothing was weird. He was just my then BF, spending time with my brother and I. Now to the how I found out. My fiancé and I lived together since we finished college. My finance was not at home since he was hanging out with friends. But I was home BC, I didn't feel like going out and just wanted to chill on my sofa. At some point during binge watching a series on Netflix, my laptop died, and I was too lazy to go get my charger, so I just took my fiancé's iPad. I know the password but honestly never used it before. The iPad logged in, and I got a bunch of messages pinging, I guess. He hasn't used it in a while too. Anyways, this got my attention, and I went to check it out, and obviously I found everything. My mom's number wasn't under her name, but I recognized the number and verified it with my phone. She was telling him she felt guilty and that I should know. He said he also felt guilty but couldn't lose me, and they fact it up. She said that it was unfair for my brother to never not know his dad, and that if he could live having his son around, not behaving like a dad but a brother-in-law. I broke down. What the actual F? There weren't a lot of older messages, just some photos stored of my brother as a newborn, my mom pregnant, and more photos of my brother growing up in an album. I couldn't anymore. I cried for what it seemed ages, and I wait for my BF to come back home. I wish I was one of those women that can pretend and get things together before confronting the cheater. But 30 and tell him in the front, 3:30, and I just gave him the iPad with the conversation opened, and saw his face completely go pale. I asked for an explanation. When? How? Why? And he didn't want to at first, but knew he had to. Apparently a few years back, while I was traveling with some friends' girls, my fiancé and mom had dinner together. This isn't strange since he has been part of the family for so long. Sometimes mom and fiancé would eat together at our place, even if I was busy with sports or out. I did the same with his parents. Somehow unclear how, since he couldn't explain it well, one thing led to another, and they ended up sleeping together. They felt guilty but apparently not guilty enough. BC they slept together 2-3 more times, using the excuse of meeting up to discuss how to tell me. Apparently when my mom got pregnant, they stopped sleeping together and decided to not tell me, since my fiancé loved me and couldn't lose me, and my mom didn't want to lose her daughter. So here we are now, with two of the most disgusting humans. I obviously broke the engagement, told my mom to never talk to me again and move in with a friend. I feel bad for my brother since I really love him, but I can't be around him now. I just can't. I feel like it would remind me of all those times we talked about having kids. I would be his baby mama. Only baby mama. We talked about this future since we were 17 years old. So I want to puke every time I think how I was actually taking care of his child with someone else, while still having those dreams. I want to puke. Comments. Comment 1. About the mom saying that she can't believe Op would air dirty laundry. Op should reply with, and I can't believe a trip down memory lane would include you screwing my fiancé several times, but here we are, and then proceed to make a post for friends and family, with the headline "Why? If you're on the fence, this is what she said to me" via text, and leave it at that. Comment 2. This sucks so much for Oop. Imagine being betrayed this bad by the person who raised her, and who was probably the person she was closest to in the world. With that said, I agree with all the actions she took after finding out. I hope she gets some therapy, so she can detangle herself from this mess. Matt's gone. As I was afraid, I was indeed confronted near my office this week. I knew this was coming, but thought maybe I had more time. My ex was the person to come find me. Yesterday, after finishing work and walking to where my car was parked, my ex was sort of lingering, waiting around. I thought about running, not gonna lie, but I guess in the moment I felt strong enough to get over with it, instead of having that hanging above my head waiting to be approached again. He asked if we could talk, and I said yes, but I didn't feel like having that conversation over coffee like we were old friends. It felt ridiculous, so I told him to just talk right there. We were in the streets, but somehow it wasn't crowded, but also not completely lonely. Felt right. He basically said sorry 100 times, and that I deserved better. I agreed. He said he did love me, and that he still does, but he would understand why I wouldn't want anything to do with him. He said that if I did in fact consider giving him a chance, that he would go to therapy, alone or together or both, and that he would work hard to win my trust back. I told him it wasn't possible. There was too much damage. This sounds calm when I type it, but in the moment things came out more with louder tone and harsher words. Anyways, he did say that he is in the OR, albeit it was a bit of a blur process of getting custody, partly from my brother, and that he in fact does want to be a dad to him. He said he does not want to be together with my mom, that it was just a stupid mistake. Sure, BC 4 or 5 times mistake is just a random thing. He couldn't explain why he did it in the first place. I think he doesn't even know himself. I asked if he cheated with someone else before. He said no, not sure if to believe it, but he sounded honest. I asked why he didn't come clean, and he said that after he did the deed, he always felt panicked and it hits him that he could lose me, and he just didn't want to. I told him it was meant to be found out, that what was his plan? To have my brother around and ignore their relationship forever. He said he didn't think far enough and that he was basically going with the idea one day at the time type of survival. I asked him if he felt that my mom seduced him. He said it was mutual, which made me want to puke again. I asked if he has any contact with my mom since I found out. He said yes, but mostly about my brother. I didn't elaborate more, and I didn't press for more info on that. He said he told his parents the day before, or the day before that, not sure, Tuesday, about everything. The parents were not happy, but they are glad to start building now a relationship with my brother grandkid. Honestly, all of this felt like a punch in my stomach. I don't know why. The parents wanted to contact me, but he told them to wait till he approached me first, hence why he was here. I said if he started or thought about the custody before I found out, and he said no. But when I found out was like the push. He needed great seems I helped him get his shit together. And this past week he was arranging all of that mess. Why he hasn't tried to see me before. He sounded and looked defeated, but the whole thing made me besides sad. Angry. I was mainly depressed before, but now I'm furious. I feel like he is still in an okay place, and he isn't paying for his actions. Beyond me leaving him, he will have my brother, his parents and others, and move on with his life. While I lost everything, I hate it. We parted ways not on a happy note, and I told him to never get near me again. I was done. He asked me to see my brother still, that I was important to him, and tried to guilt trip me, and it worked. But I still think I can't. I don't know much about my mom, and really hope she doesn't come find me anytime soon. BC, I'm fuming right now and won't be able to handle it. I will be contacting my family and friends and finally doing the blasting today. Mayal, I think, is about time, and after my talk with him, I got the extra push I needed. Update 2. A lot has happened. I did the blasting, and this is how it went down. I first posted on my family's FB group. We share. This is from my mom's family side. I used inspiration of what you all suggested in my last post, and said something around the lines of us. I want to communicate to you all that my wedding with X has been permanently canceled, since I found out that my mom Aim and my ex-name had in the last few years a sexual relationship, which resulted in the birth of my little brother. Name, I had no clue of any of this, and I found out about it last week. I won't have moving forward a relationship with an nice mom and ex-name, for obvious reasons. I would appreciate your understanding, and I felt it was only fair to let you know of the situation, since I value transparency and honestly above all. I also included a screenshot of my mother message, what I said to her once I found out, and a message she managed to write back before I blocked her. I didn't open the message till before the blasting. I didn't want to hear her and be persuaded. It exploded. I had family reaching out via text and calling the whole day after the blasting. I would say most were very supportive, and I could tell they were just shocked. There were a few neutral and some suspicious that it wasn't the whole story, and maybe I misunderstood. My grandparents were in the maybe you misunderstood category, which it wasn't surprising since my mom is super close to my grandparents, and like I said before, my mom was always a good mom, so no red flags. I will be moving with a cousin that is more like a sister to me. I haven't reached out to her previously BC. I knew once she knows everyone would. That's why I went to my friend's place. My cousin is devastated on my behalf, and offered I live with her and her 2 kids until I can get my feet on the ground. I accepted and will be moving next week. I'm a bit afraid this will give my mom an easier access to me, but I can't stay at my friend's place forever. I then proceeded quickly to post a similar message from we share most of our friends since high school and local university friends on Instagram. I created a close friend story and tagged most of them too. This went sort of viral in our friend group. Actually, one of my friends sent me my Reddit post and asked if this was me. I confirmed. They were also shocked and speechless. They never thought my ex would even remotely do anything like this. They said he was crazy about you. Oh well. Apparently he went overboard on the crazy part. The group of friends is divided ATM. Some are completely on my side, and some are thinking it isn't the whole truth. I told everyone that reached out that if they don't believe me to ask their friend if he is asking for custody of my little brother. That kinda shut them up for now. My ex deleted his social media apparently. Also, my ex's parents called me like I guessed they would. They were kind to me and were very sorry about everything. I got the feeling they are also overwhelmed and very disappointed. However, it was clear they will be supporting their son. They are very upset at my mother and don't want anything to do with her, but not sure how that will work with my little brother and everything else. They tried to give me info about the custody and what is my ex up to now, but I shut that down quickly and told them I don't want any info. I want to move on. I also asked them to not reach out in the near future, that I needed distance, especially if they will be supporting my ex he is living with his parents at. Also, my ex and my mother, after the blast, were going nuts trying to reach out to me. They tried calling my friend who she blocked them, and reaching out from different numbers. I had to put my phone on silence and ignore everyone. However, my mother sent me a long text from other number, and that was a weird text. She said that I was being cruel, and that she didn't think she raised me that way. She said she thought we had a better relationship than me blasting out laundry like that, without talking to her first, that I didn't have the whole picture. She did mention something that confused me. She said in her long-ass text that the reason she slept with my ex is because he reminded him of my dad. That it was grief, that she didn't mean to use him to heal her pain, but she wasn't strong enough. I don't even know what that means. Like, did she think that my ex looks physically like my dad? Or personality? Or what? I've seen photos of my dad, and well, yay, my ex isn't super different, but also not super alike. I mean, they share brown turdy blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin, but that's not so uncommon. I don't see what else. I don't know. That threw me for a loop and honestly makes me want to confront my mom just to know what the hell. From all the things she could say, I was not expecting that. I'm holding on better. I don't cry every hour or want to murder them. But I'm still sad and upset, and it just feels like it isn't my life. That is a big joke or a bad dream, and I will wake up to my normal life. I also need to really start planning my future and start applying for jobs in other cities, or maybe check the possibilities abroad more seriously. I might ask for 2-3 days off work to really get my thought together and do some research. I'm terrified, TBH. I feel frozen, but I know I need to start moving. Now, for the next story. My family hid my best friend's pregnancy by my boyfriend. Now my mom demands I reconcile 15 years later. I am new to Reddit and really have no idea how to work it. I really just want to share my story, so I am trying again. Thank you to all who commented on my previous post. I never realized how many amazing people are on here, and I really appreciate the many advices I was given. This is a long story that really started some 15 years ago. It really impacted my 33 female life, so please bear with me. When I was 18 and in my senior year of high school, I really believed my life was on a good track. I lived with my parents and 4 siblings, 23 male, 22 male, 20 female, 14 female, and spent most of my days hanging out with my best friend Ashley, 18 female, and or my boyfriend of 3 years, Kyle, 20 male. Both Ashley's and Kyle's parents were best friends with my parent, so I knew both of them since we were in diapers. We spent holidays together, birthdays, and visited each other all the time as we lived in the same town. Ashley's been my friend for 18 years, and she truly was the person I trusted with everything. Sometimes our parents would joke that we are connected by the hip, as we were together all the time. I've been dating Kyle for the last 3 years. I believed he was the love of my life and the one I would eventually marry. We were quite serious and even talked about getting married after he finished college. He was a sophomore at that point. Although I had every plan on going to university, I was quite content with the idea of being married to Kyle and being a stay-at-home mom. My parents loved Kyle and supported our relationship. I really was happy. I think I should note here that my sister 20F was also dating Kyle's brother 23M, and that all our siblings were very close. One day at the beginning of the school year, I noticed that Ashley was being very melancholic and detached. After a while of prodding, she told me she was pregnant. I was very surprised because I didn't know she and her boyfriend broke up a while ago, and I didn't know she had anyone else like that in her life. I asked her who the father was, and she didn't want to talk about it, but in a way implied that the ex was the father. She was absolutely distraught, so I dropped the topic and just consoled her. I was with her when she told her family, and while her parents were disappointed, they promised to support her in whenever she decides. They tried to make her share the dad's name, but she refused and made me promise to stay quiet. They did not know she had a boyfriend at one point. I was there for her for the next 9 months. I went with her for an ultrasound, doc's appointments. I was there for her when she was bullied in school for being pregnant. I helped her set up the nursery. I was there when she was sick or just felt down. I held a baby shower for her, went shopping with her. I even took some parenting classes with her. We chose names together, and she even asked me to be with her in the delivery room. I noticed that the pregnancy was really taking a toll on her emotionally and physically, and I tried to support her in every way possible. She was my best friend, always there for me, and I loved her. Some 2 weeks before her due date, I went to the mall to run some errands and ran into her ex. Although I promised never to contact her, the knowledge of my friend's emotional state sent me into a fit of anger, and I confronted him. I gave him a piece of my mind, told him what a piece of shit he was for leaving his ex pregnant and alone and not caring for his unborn child. He was shocked and said that he had no idea what I was talking about. Ashley never told him about the pregnancy, and when I told him she was 9 months pregnant at the time, he said that it was not possible for him to be the father as they broke up over a year ago and had no relations since then. I was confused but apologized for yelling at him in the middle of the mall. After that, he became snarky, said some nasty stuff, and mentioned that maybe I should ask Ashley's friend Kyle if he is the daddy. I didn't really think about his words in any way. Kyle and Ashley have been friends their entire lives. We were always very close because of our parents' relationship, but they never showed any sign of being anything more. That evening, my younger sister 14F and I were preparing to have a movie night. I began ranting to her about confronting Ashley's ex in his words. My sister, who is usually very outspoken, got quiet and didn't really respond to anything I said. After a while, she excused herself and went to the bathroom. I decided to go and get some snack and went downstairs to the kitchen and heard younger sister berating my mother. This part of my memory is really fuzzy as I was dealing with lots of emotions. My sister told my mom about me running into Ashley's ex in his words and told my mom she no longer wanted to hide from me the fact that Kyle was Ashley's baby's father. I was shocked. Absolutely shocked. I stumbled into the kitchen and demanded an explanation. Both my mom and my sister became white as a sheet when they saw me, and my sister started crying her eyes out. My sister explained to me some things I also learned from other people later that appeared during the end of the summer break. Kyle and Ashley attended the same house party, got drunk, and slept together. Ashley got pregnant and told Kyle, but they were both ashamed and afraid of telling me. They also didn't share this with their parents. Ashley, however, couldn't keep the secret and told her mom and dad, who told Kyle's parents and later to mine as well. This all happened when Ashley was in her first trimester. By her second trimester, all of my siblings, Kyle's and Ashley's siblings, knew about this. Everyone, except for me. I simply cannot explain the way I felt. I was physically ill for the next 3 days and I couldn't speak to anyone. My parents were apologetic but explained that they didn't want to see me hurt or ruin everyone's relationship. I did not speak with Kyle or Ashley, although they bombarded my phone with messages and calls, and also came to my house. I refused to see them. At one point, Kyle's mom came to our house and my mom allowed her into my room. While I was lying in my bed still ill, and just emotionally drained from the betrayal, she tried to convince me to forgive them, and how Ashley and the baby need me. I said nothing. 2 weeks later, Ashley went into labor. I learned from my parents that she had a hard delivery, she lost a lot of blood and needed an emergency C-section. Kyle apparently was at the birth. I was distraught, inconsolable. Because of the betrayal by both, because I planned to be there and now physically and emotionally couldn't, because I was looking forward to this moment for months. So many reasons. My older sister immediately went to the hospital to be with her boyfriend. My other siblings weren't at home, so I was left alone with my parents. All I wanted was to lay in my bed or cuddle in my bed with my mom and cry all my feelings out. My mom received a call from Ashley's mom. She came to my room and told me that she and Dad were going to the hospital. I was perplexed and asked her to stay with me. She said that Ashley's parents need all the support they can get, and that we will discuss everything later. I tried to tell her not to go and that I also need their support, but she said not to be selfish and they left. I was left alone at the house and I just couldn't comprehend what happened in the last few weeks. I couldn't believe that my parent would go and support someone who hurt me so much, while I was also here suffering. Am I really selfish to think like that? I don't know when, but my sadness turned into rage, the kind I never experienced before. In a fit of combined emotions and feelings of betrayal, I started packing my bags and decided to leave home. It didn't take a while, but I started having second thoughts and just sat in the living room feeling empty. After a while, I received a text from my sister. The text said that Ashley gave birth to a healthy girl and that they were both okay. She attached a pic of the newborn and told me they named her Sarah, the name Ashley and I chose some month ago. She sent a second text a while later, telling me that my parents and she were going to join Ashley's and Kyle's parents and going to a bar in the town to celebrate. I don't remember much after that. I think I was just consumed by everything and my memory is very foggy. I left. I took a train and left. I stayed at a hostel in Phoenix for a while. I got a job at a store and planned to finish high school there. My parents, siblings Kyle and Ashley tried to contact me. My mom was sending me a panicked voicemail, demanding me to come back. They also reported me as a missing person. But I don't think it went anywhere as I was 18. Anyway, soon afterward I met Dean 21M. He also lived in Phoenix and had a complicated relationship with his family. We really connected and became friends soon. He helped me a lot at that time. I struggled. I had no idea how to take care of myself or how to, literally, be an adult. He introduced me to his group of friends, helped me finish high school. I moved in with him and his friends. He helped me deal with my pain. I really struggled at one point, and also had some regrets. I wanted to see a therapist, but I most definitely couldn't afford it. He was there for me and supported me through everything, and I don't think I would have lasted long without him. We began dating after a year. He inherited some money from his grandpa, and decided to move across the country to the big city. Although we weren't together for long, he asked me to go with him. I was a bit reluctant because we both had a lot of emotional baggage and I was still very insecure in my situation, but I did go. We moved, got jobs and tried to survive. Soon after my 21st birthday, we decided to get married. It was a crazy, spontaneous decision, but we did it. I enrolled in university and Dean helped me pay for it. He himself opened a company. That took off and we were able to live more comfortably. I was in uni and also worked a part-time job to contribute. We had our ups and downs but somehow survived. After unit I started working in his company and we slowly built it up. When I look back now, I don't think I was in love with Dean when we got married. I loved him, but I wasn't in love. But he was there for me, always unconditionally, and today I don't think I could love him more. He is the love of my life. We've been married for 12 years now. And we have a 2-year-old son and a 6-month-old son. Sometimes I regretted leaving my family behind, but I just couldn't go back. It was very painful. I felt like my parent chose Ashley and Kyle over me. I did go to a therapist when I was 25 and tried to deal with my emotions. Last year at the beginning of the pandemic I received an email from a 14-year-old girl named Evelyn. She explained that she was my niece, my older sister's and Kyle's brother's kid. She knew about me and wanted to meet me. Although I was reluctant to speak to her, we did exchange some emails. Let me note that she did not know what transpired 15 years ago, so the conversations were pretty innocent. We talked about her school, interest, and she talked about my family. I learned I had 10 nieces and nephews. I also learned that Kyle married Ashley 4 years after I left, and had 2 sons besides Sarah. My parents continued to have a friendship with Kyle's and Ashley's family, and to me, it really felt like my family continued their normal life, despite me being gone. She tried to talk to me about what happened, but I didn't really think it was my place to explain things to her, so I simply said that relationships change and things happen in life that make us go our separate ways. We continued talking ever so often for almost a year. In her email, this January she expressed how the pandemic had a big effect on her entire family, and how my parents were struggling to keep their house and both my brothers lost their jobs and struggled to keep up with the cost. I was surprised at her knowledge of this as she was only 14, but the hardship was also causing tensions between her parents. I started to deal with a lot of guilty feelings and regrets. I also just had my baby, so that was causing me lots of emotions. I talked to my husband and he was very supportive and told me that he would be there for me for whatever I decide. We are financially stable, and the pandemic didn't have a great impact on our finances. We are not rich but are able to live comfortably. After learning some more details and talking with Dean, we decided to help my parent with their house. A week ago we flew back to my home state. I saw my family for the first time in 15 years. I had so many emotions, regrets, pains from the past, feelings of betrayal. My parent was, I think, relieved to see me. It was just such a weird day. We had a lengthy conversation and agreed to try and have some sort of cordial relationship. It's been so long and I am very awkward with them. Sometimes they feel like strangers. Dean and I spent a week there and we continued to have a conversation, and I truly believe that we were on a path to having a friendly, yet distant relationship, but that my mom started insisting I have a sit-down conversation with Kyle and Ashley. She explained that she wants to go back to the way things were. I told her I refused to talk to them. Although I moved on, I simply have no ties with them now, and don't want to rehash anything with them. I told her I am prepared to try and establish a relationship with them as they are my family and I truly came to care for my niece, but that I don't want anything to do with Kyle, Ashley, or their family. I never demanded them to cease their relationship with their friends, but I don't want one. Dean supports me. My mom called me selfishly and said that I simply must try and heal our relationship. I told her I will not negotiate, and that it's on her to decide whether or not she wants to have a relationship with me. She said okay. But 2 days later I received a phone call from Kyle's mom. I did not give her my number, and she demanded I talk with Kyle and Ashley, as my return caused tensions in their relationship and their emotional health. I hung up. I called my mom and confronted her. Apparently she gave that woman my number to heal our family bonds. I told her that she is choosing them over me again. She cried and yelled at me that I am selfish and that she just wants her family back. I hung up. It's been days since I spoke to any of them, although my mom and Kyle's mom keep on calling. Although I think I am right, and I believe I should prioritize my well-being and the well-being and happiness of my husband, who has been behind me 100%, and even told my mom off and my sons, I am starting to have some regrets. I don't know if I should listen to my mom and speak to Ashley and Kyle. I question whether I was overreacting 15 years ago. I am questioning whether I am truly being selfish for not actively trying to repair the relationship. I would really appreciate any advice or opinion on what to do in this situation. Suddenly I am questioning the entire course of my life. I am so lost and I don't know what to do. Comments. Comment 1. This times 100000000. And up you owe Kyle and Ashley absolutely nothing. Their relationship falling apart if their issue not yours. They both betrayed you and in a way each other because neither will ever trust the other, because they both know they are both shitty people. Comment 2. Going North Carolina was one of the best and most damning things Zoop could do. If the wrong person yells and curses, they can feel uncomfortable, but tell themselves that was their penance. If the victim disappears without a word, as Zoop did, then the wrongdoers are left with self-reflection. They experience discomfort without resolution. They live with the knowledge they greatly harmed someone, and that fact lingers around them, turning the air sour and preventing them from moving forward. Update 1. First of all, I want to thank all of the wonderful people who have been sending me updates and lovely messages. I'm truly grateful. A lot of things have happened in the last few years, not all great. Without making these 100 pages long, I never mentioned my little sister in my original post. Her relationship with my parents went downhill after I left home, and she went no contact with them when she was 20. I received her number from our older sister, and although it was awkward at first, it's been 15 years after all, we did start speaking again. She was very angry at me for leaving. A lot has happened in her life, and it wasn't the easiest. She has a toddler, a baby of her own, and I have to say that the kids have helped us bond again. She's my best friend and we talk every day. As for my other siblings, I'm in regular contact with both my brothers, although we aren't close. My older sister and I have a good relationship now, but last year we've had a longer period of not speaking. As she is married to Kyle's brother, it was hard for her to deal with all our and their family drama. We are cool now and I have a lovely relationship with my nieces and nephews. I didn't go to my niece's birthday party. It just seemed like it would be too hard for me. Now to my parents. This one is a little painful for me to write, and at the time it felt like I was reliving all those shitty emotions I had at 18. My mom didn't let up with her pestering over me not talking with Kyle and Ashley. Her calls for that continued for months, even after I was home again. It bordered on emotional blackmail. She blamed me for not honoring her wishes for her friendship problems and health problems, and even accused me of keeping her grandbabies from her. Last June I had my daughter, and it seems like that sent her completely over the rail. What I mean by that: 100 calls a day, messages every 20 minutes to pester me about random things, sending me updates about people I never want to know about. When she started pestering Dean, I was done. I was afraid to block her, so I spoke to my father. This was probably the first time in the last 17 years that we had a true heart-to-heart conversation. I was emotionally drained, tired from caring for 3 children, and just over everything. I've probably poured all my feeling and emotions onto him. I'd keep what happened to them afterward. He doesn't speak much about it. Her calls slowly ceased, and something else must have happened, because in August he filed for a divorce. My father and I are in regular contact, although I don't think we'll ever be back to normal. Mom is devastated. In August her calls became insane, and apparently not just with me. I've changed my number since then, and as of February, she has not been able to reach me. I've been told by one of my brothers that she has problems with anxiety and depression, and lost a lot of friends. I don't really know whether or not she continues to have a relationship with Kyle and Ashley's family. I don't want to have anything to do with her anymore, nor do I want her near my kids. The things she said to me, about me and about my husband, whom she really doesn't know, and after 15 years of no contact, is crazy. Although I regret not having a mom, I feel like trying and fighting to repair the little remnants of our relationship would be a waste of my emotional energy, and just pure torture. As for Kyle and Ashley, I've received some calls from Kyle's mom, as I mentioned in my original post. I blocked her, and no other calls have been received from anyone. I really don't know what they are doing or where they are. I've had no contact with them. The only thing that really happened is that in August, when shit went downhill, my Bill, Kyle's brother, brought me a letter apparently written by Ashley. I've not opened it, and I really don't know if I want to. I feel like I've moved on from them, but on the other hand, I'm curious as to what she has to say after so many years. However, that in itself could bring back bad emotions. I'm doing okay now, with my babies and Dean, who is a real trooper in all of this. I'm trying to focus on my family, and I really hope that this is all behind me. To all of you, thank you again. If anything else happens, I'll try to update sooner. Update 2. A lot of questions have been asked in these messages, and I can't answer them all at this time. I plan on updating soon. Just to quickly answer the most common ones. I have not read the letter yet. Soon after updating, I started therapy again, and Dean and I decided that it would be best if I gave the letter to my therapist and let him decide when and if I am ever ready to read it. I have not spoken to my mom since the update. I've received messages on Facebook from her and Ashley's mom, which is a first. The latter I didn't even read. I've since deactivated my Facebook for the time being. Neither Kyle nor Ashley tried to contact me via any social media. The only thing I know is that Kyle was asking my Bill for my address or number, but Bill refused them. That's when Ashley gave him the letter. Bill is in no contact with his family ATM. They are separated as per my Bill, but he does not know whether they are divorced or not. Last week my dad was in town. He does not know my address and has never been to my house. For the first time in almost 2 decades, we had an open, honest conversation. I have to admit it was a lot, and I was not good for a few days afterwards. But it was necessary. I learned a lot about my mom. A lot of you tried to imply there must have been something in her past to make her the way she is, and the time between them learning Ashley was pregnant, and my return 2 years ago. It's a lot to unpack, and I'll probably be in therapy for a long time. It's a lot really, so I'll have to write a separate update. Also, my little sister. She was not at fault, and I never blamed her for hiding the secret from me. She was a teen and she knew it was wrong. But she was put under a lot of pressure by her mom. After I left, her life was hell, and her mom was insufferable, and blamed her for a lot of things. Again, thank you for your words of support and encouragement. Lots of you sent words for Dean as well, and he has read them. You're right. He is the best, and I probably would not have been where I am today without him. Please appreciate your families if they are there for you in good and bad, of course. Call your parents and sibling and tell them how much you love them. In moments like this, we realize how much we undervalue the good people in our lives. Thank you, and I hope you're all well. Update 3. Hello. She was never bullied before, really. It started after she got pregnant. Our state is pretty conservative, so it wasn't well received that she was pregnant, unmarried, and without a partner. There was no physical violence. People were quite mean and kept reminding her of her mistakes. I don't know if people knew that he was the father. I always just assumed it was because she was pregnant. I've learned from my dad that apparently they weren't hooking up with each other before. But that could be a lie. But apparently she did like him, so it wasn't really just an awkward, drunk one-night stand with just anyone. Knowing this fact would probably kill me back then. But I sort of assumed without being told. Her ex suspected it. They didn't date anymore at the party, but I think he also never liked Kay, so seeing them together like that was a red flag. I wasn't a party animal, nor was she, but IDK they just went that day. I don't remember if they went together or separately, but I'd assume the latter. She did have other friends after all, who enjoyed night outs. The drunkenness part. I really don't remember them being that heavy drinkers. At least I never saw her drunk to the point that she was reckless or had a loss of memory. So I never really believed that part much. But I wasn't there. And really it doesn't matter, drunk or not. It was a betrayal. I read some of Kyle's texts back then. I never answered any of the phone calls or anything. I never spoke to them after I learned that he was the father. I kind of regret that now. Maybe it would have been more beneficial for everyone if I gave them a good earful, expressed all the pain, and gone no contact after that. But I just wasn't in the right state of mind and I was sick a lot back then. This current letter is from her and I haven't read it yet. At this point I believe that my mom is grieving the loss of a tight family friendship unit that we had when I was younger and some other relationship. She has yet to realize that none of her 5 kids speak or see her. None of her grandchildren see her. None of us, as far as I know, speak to her. That in itself would be the end for me. I can't imagine what emotional state she must be in. We all agree that we need psychological or psychiatric help. She refused. Dad and eldest brother tried, but you can't convince someone like that. Update 4. Hello. Truthfully, I read this yesterday but needed some time to sort out my response. 1. I have no idea whether they were in love with each other, or whether she was in love with him before it all happened, or really if it happened only once or more times. They said only once. I think she liked him, but I always thought it was because we were such close friends. They blamed each other. I read only a couple of their messages and never talked to them. It's what I heard from my sisters, my father, etc. It seems they were desperate at the time, especially A. They married when the kid was IDK 4/5. I know they are not together at the moment, but nothing more really. 2. I hope Kay didn't cheat. I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, especially with 3 kids. His texts. They were typical, I guess. He begged me to see him, talk to him. How he loves me and we can't break up, etc. I didn't read all of them. He came to the house twice that I know of, but my older brother sent him away. He was very frantic in text, and from what I heard in person, I was just sad and very persistent with a long text. I know some don't approve of me just ignoring them, but I was sick and devastated. I was dead to the world for a few days. 3. I do sometimes think that it may have been a one-time, one-night thing, a mistake. But that one mistake turned into a months-long lie. While she was pregnant with his child, she allowed me to continue to date him, and plan things with him and her. My sadness and anger aren't so much about them cheating, it's that I was lied to for months, and if my sister hadn't spoken, probably for years. Years. Rest. E was no jealousy, I'd think. There was no putting down in looks or people saying, oh, A is better looking, no, E is prettier. 4. I do sometimes think that it may have been a one-time, one-night thing, a mistake. But that one mistake turned into a months-long lie. While she was pregnant with his child, she allowed me to continue to date him, and plan things with him and her. My sadness and anger aren't so much about them cheating. It's that I was lied to for months, and if my sister hadn't spoken, probably for years. 5. I have a new number, and besides my immediate family bar my mother, no one from my old life has this new mother, so Kay's mom calling me shouldn't be possible. Kay's mom wasn't worried about me. Just like my mom, she insisted we repaired my relationship with everyone, and claimed that my presence was now ruining their marriage and causing troubles all around. Unlike my mom, she was on her daughter's side. 6. The dads. My dad was mostly uninvolved in the situation. I don't know so much about the other dads, but I can say that the moms are wearing the pants in these relationships, and they are all very forceful women. 7. With the sides of others. I'm just saying that if any of them wrote their own narrative in a Reddit post, they would probably receive a lot of sympathy, and maybe people would find me the problem. A few days ago I received a lot of comments from a user defending A and claiming that Kay raped her. This user accused me of pedophilia despite everyone being 18 and just saying really nasty stuff. So I guess that's my point. Now, for the next story. My mother tried to trick me into joining my sister for dinner after she tested me around her husband. This is actually crazy and there's going to be lots of details, so please bear with me. My sister recently got married. It's been about 3 to 4 months. I didn't really see much of them after the wedding honeymoon and then back to work. But once a month our family all gets together and my parents host a huge feast. Since this took place a week ago, it was for the month of August. During this dinner, my Bill was being extremely weird towards me. He was complimenting my body, ignoring my sister and just straight up acting so strange. It was completely unexpected for several reasons, one being his wife was sitting right next to me. 2, he has only been married a few months. Also, he's just never spoken to about me like that before. I felt really uncomfortable, and I'm sure it transpired to the rest of the room because WTF. Except it was weird because nobody was pointing anything out. I was extremely confused and just wanted to leave. I left early, but when I got home I just felt so icky. I don't even know how to describe it. I decided to message my sister and let her know his behavior made me uncomfortable. I told her that it was also concerning he felt comfortable enough to say these things in front of my parents and brother. I explained that if she didn't feel comfortable being in the middle, I wouldn't mind explaining this to him myself. His behavior was so unnerving that I FaceTimed my boyfriend who was away for work in the US. I told him it was weird, and how suddenly my Bill's behavior towards me went from that of siblings to this horribly uncomfortable situation. He was pissed. Rightfully so. My sister didn't respond to my texts until the next day. She asked to meet up, so I did. I was expecting her to be upset, and to have him apologize for what he said. Instead, she admits it was all a test and I passed. I was confused to say the least. What did she mean by a test? Passed? Like what's going on? Turns out she had her husband do those things on purpose because she wanted to see how I would react if he had said those things to me and meant them. My reaction and choice to message her afterwards told her I could be trusted around him. I was offended to say the least. Why would she think I couldn't be trusted? Well, let me tell you in my opinion, not very valid reason for this lack of trust. My sister has been married before. She was 27 and the divorce was about 10 months into marriage. Her ex was a psycho to say the least. He had known me longer than he did my sister. I was the one who had introduced them. They got along well and eventually started dating. It looked like the healthiest and most romantic relationship to grace planet Earth. Except when they got married. During their marriage, I was staying with them, because it was a closer commute to work. They had extra bedrooms and I would pay rent and cook and clean for myself. My underwear, bras and panties would often go missing. It started off small. I just assumed it got mixed up in my sister's laundry and would turn up eventually. But it was happening more frequently to the point I was buying underwear almost weekly. I kept pressuring my sister to admit she was stealing my underwear and she was adamant it wasn't her. I decided to just ignore it and go about my day. Something I hadn't even considered an option was the real reason. My former Bill was stealing my underwear. I don't know, nor did I want to know what he was doing with it when I found out. But I was so disgusted and confused. Someone I thought was my friend was actually just a perv. He admitted he had never really loved my sister and was just using her to get to me. I was just so creeped out and I pressed charges against him for his sickening behavior. I was able to get a restraining order and my sister divorced him almost instantly after finding out. She used something traumatic that happened to me and flipped it to make it seem like I'm the one who was untrustworthy. She claimed I must have strung him along for him to think like that. And this test was just to prove I wasn't doing it again. Safe to say I was extremely hurt and angry by her response, so I told her to never speak or contact me again, if that's what she really thought of me. My family found out and for the most part agree her behavior is crazy. But my mother stood by her actions and said my sister was just trying to protect herself from being hurt again. I told her if she had just been honest with me from the start, I wouldn't have been as bothered. There's a right way to approach things and a wrong way. This isn't just wrong, it's also crazy. Why is she so adamant it's my life goal to hurt her? I didn't know that her ex was going to turn out like that, so why am I being punished? She claimed I should have had some indication he liked me, but he really made it seem like he was head over heels for my sister. How am I supposed to know what's going on in someone else's mind? Anyway, the family dinner was earlier for this month, as it was the most compatible date for everyone's schedules yesterday. I told my parents to expect me not to show up if my sister and Bill were going. It wasn't even because I refused to ever speak to her again. I had just said that because the situation was so fresh. I told my mother I would apologize when I had cooled down a little. It was just difficult to face them, when they made me feel like a horrible person for a situation that was out of my control. My mother assured me my sister wouldn't attend, so I agreed to come. When I arrived, they were both there. It felt like an ambush, and it sort of was. My sister demanded I apologize for my reaction, because it was my own fault it happened in the first place. I can't lie, I snapped. I told her she should remove my number and the title of being my sister if she really felt that way. I just need advice because therapy isn't scheduled for another 2 weeks and I feel like I just dreamt a soap opera storyline. I feel kind of bad because I do understand my sister had her trust broken completely by her ex. But I feel like that distrust shouldn't be aimed at me, but the person who actually caused it. And I was the one who introduced her to the hole in the first place, so I feel guilty for that already. But I'm failing to see how her schemes to manipulate me into thinking she's being wronged by a husband once again is just far too extreme. I want to apologize to her for one reason: ever introducing that man to her. I really need her to see that I wasn't trying anything when her ex was stealing my underwear. I was just as in the dark as her. How do I go about doing the above, because I want to put this behind me and move on? I was just about healing from her former marriage, and now this one is also putting me in a very uncomfortable position. With my sister, my bill, and my own mother. Any advice on how to tackle apologizing, getting my sister's trust back, and showing her I truly just want the best for her? P.S. Apologies for spelling grammar mistakes. It's 2 a.m. and I usually sleep around 10 p.m. It's possible that parts of this won't make sense, so I'm more than happy to try and make things easier to understand in the comments. I'm just so tired that my brain is working at 10% right now. Comments. Comment 1. Honestly, the behavior of the new husband, edit not just the disrespect, is quite concerning too. So he was okay to play the creepy bill with you? It indicates this type of behavior is quite okay for him. Perhaps he even liked it. Your sister is so needy, she is willing to marry anyone. If my sister was living with me and her underwears were missing, I would investigate it seriously. She knew and was okay to close her eyes as long as you didn't make it public. Now she wants you to take the blame. Her and her husband's are the issue. Comment 2. That sister is a piece of work. I still expect that her husband is going to divorce her. Because she's never going to trust him with any female friends or relatives, in my opinion. Update 1. A lot has happened the last couple of days. I have tried to read all the comments and taken everyone's advice. This has been the outcome. I lost a sister and a mother in 2 days. It's heartbreaking more than anything. I had a meet-up with everyone. My boyfriend came with me, so I had support during the conversation. Honestly, it was hard to look at any of them for the way they treated me. I'm so thankful to everyone opening my eyes to the crazy behavior exhibited in the first part of this story. In front of everyone, my mother admitted to knowing about the plans from the start. Sister confided in her and she agreed it was a good idea. She supported her son-in-law openly harassing her daughter. I'm in complete shock, and it just hurts so much knowing she would condone this, considering she knew how much I was affected by the first husband. She knew I was having a difficult time in therapy. It took me a long time to trust people again after that. And I feel like once again, my trust has been broken. I don't know how I'm ever going to trust anyone again. I'm really thankful my boyfriend was there to comfort me, because it was so hard keeping my composure around them. My sister was not budging at all. She kept maintaining she was in the right. She said the only reason I wouldn't apologize is because deep down I knew what her ex was like. She said I just liked getting attention from him knowing he was married to my sister. She also claimed I overreacted, and if it's acting then it's not harassment. I told her she shouldn't expect any calls, texts, or just not to be contacted by me until I received the apology I deserve from both her and my bill. Speaking of, he was pretty silent throughout the whole thing. Probably because my father threatened his life if he spoke bad about me. He did say that the only reason he did it was to placate my sister, because she kept accusing him of ogling me. But still no apology from him. My mother, this one broke my heart the most. She told me I was over-exaggerating, and that I should be happy to have passed my sister's test. She actually said the words, "We can all move on now." I was in complete awe. TBH, how could she think that things would just go back to normal after this? I asked why she was supporting such delusional behavior. She said it was because she loved my sister and wanted her to be happy. I asked her if she loved me as much as my sister. She said yes. It seemed hesitant, but I don't want to read too much into that. I told her I wanted an apology for her schemes. She refused, so I gave her the same conditions I gave my sister and Bill. Until I get an apology, I simply am not speaking to all three of them. As a result, I also probably have to go low contact with my brother and dad, because they both live with my mother. I mean, I'll hang out with them outside, and without the presence of my mother. But if she'll let them is the question. I know some of you have suggested spending time with my boyfriend's family on holidays and occasions. I think it was just on person, but oh well, I haven't met my boyfriend's family before because they live in the US, but after this situation I've taken 2 weeks paid holiday for the end of this month, and he's taking me to meet them for the first time. I hope it goes well because they might be the only family I have now. My therapy session has been moved to tomorrow because I requested an emergency appointment. Wish me luck. Anyway, my biggest thanks goes to all you Redditors for helping me see the situation for what it was. For your advice and compassion, I'm really grateful. I don't think I would have been able to get through this on my own. It's likely I would have caved and apologized just for the pattern to repeat itself. Truly, thank you so much. Wishing you all the best, and I hope you know that your advice might have just saved me from my need to always please others. I'll look back on this moment anytime I feel like putting someone else's feelings above my own comfort. Hope your hearts are filled with love and happiness. Update 2. To be honest, there hasn't been much to update on in that particular situation. I am in contact with my mum now since the incident, because she apologized. My sister and I still do not speak. From what I know, she is still married to my Bill, and I think they're expecting something I inferred from family friend's Facebook post. I am doing a lot better though. I've become closer with my dad and brother throughout everything. My relationship with my mother is more strained now. I feel like I still can't trust her even though she apologized. I don't think we will ever be as close as we were before my sister's schemes. My relationship is going really well too. He was asking about rings, so I'm thinking a proposal might be in my future. Also, his parents are just the best. They've sort of taken me in, and it's so cute how they dote on me like I'm their daughter. His whole family is just incredibly supportive and uplifting. We're going to visit them again in July. I'm so excited to go back. I love it in the US. The weather is better, the people are nicer, and of course I get to see where my man grew up. I just feel so much lighter and happier now that I've put what my ex-Bill and current Bill have put me through behind me. I wish her the best with her pregnancy, but that's all I can do since she is still refusing to apologize. This probably wasn't the update you were looking for, but it's all I can give at this moment. Hope you're all having a wonderful day and a better summer than I'm having. Oh, and anyone from TikTok, my Bill and mother are not together. I've asked the person to take it down, but they haven't responded, so I just thought I would make it clear Bill and Mum have not slept together or done anything weird to my knowledge. Update 3. My sister has been telling her family members an entirely warped version of events. I only found out when I sent out save the dates. I got a call from an aunt telling me I was brave for inviting all these people after ruining my sister's life. I was so confused, so I asked her what she meant. She elaborated a little by saying that I was wrong for trying to seduce both my sister's husbands, and that my fiancé was an idiot for supporting me. I laughed out of astonishment, not amusement. First, I told her to watch what she has to say about my soon-to-be husband. He's the only support I've had during this horrible moment in my life. Then, I told her what truly went down. She was shocked and didn't believe me. I told her she could easily go to my parents and brother to confirm it. Well, she informed me that my mother already confirmed things for her. I was so pissed off. Words can't describe the anger that I felt in that moment. It was like everything I had gone through in the past few years had all piled up and I couldn't take it anymore. I just hung up the phone. I rang my mother, who was begging for my forgiveness a few months ago. I told her I was done. She supported my delusional sister in her crazy schemes and I forgave her. Out of the goodness of my heart, I chose to put that shit behind me so I didn't lose my mother. But she went behind my back and sided with my sister in front of our extended family. She made everyone think I was callous enough to seduce my own Bills. She allowed people to spread lies about her own daughter. I told her I never want to see or speak to her again. I called my brother and asked him if he knew any of this had been happening. Thankfully he didn't. Neither did my dad. I then wrote a letter to my sister. The details of the letter held 4 main points. That I was deeply sorry for everything she had been through. It did not mean I understood or forgave her actions, but I was apologetic for how things turned out. She needed to seek help for what my former Bill put her through. I was stunned by the fact she thought she could lie about what happened to everyone and get away with it. She had truly lost the right to call herself my sister from that point on. I wished her the very best in life, but that I never wanted to see or hear from her ever again. She has caused me far too much pain to the point I'll never be able to forgive her. I will never speak to, reach out, or even entertain the idea of reconciling with my mother or sister again. It is up to my father and brother whether they choose to associate with them, but for me, everything is too unfixable. The lies have stacked up so much that there isn't a pair of scissors sharp enough to cut through. My fiancé and I have decided that with everything that has happened, we will just have a town hall wedding. Just a couple witnesses and me and him. I'm so eternally grateful to have found him. He's my entire world, and without him here to talk me out of a breakdown, I might never have survived. Family is not always who you are born with, but those you meet along the way. I've been so incredibly lucky to have met some of the best people I can start my own family with. It is with great sadness that I make this update. It is my own fault for believing in the best of people. To think that I would ever get an apology is just so naive, but I think this may have been a blessing in disguise. At the very least, I'm choosing to see it like that. This chapter of my life is officially over, and I can now move on to better and brighter things. Thank you all for tuning into this portion of my life. Love you all and hope that you all have better luck with family members than I have. BTTU, I know people are curious to know my ethnicity. I'm mixed race, my mother is Indian and my father is English. I grew up and lived in England most of my life. Now, for the next story. My sister slept with my boyfriend, and I sent her a cruel message that I have no regrets about. My sister slept with my boyfriend and I sent her a really cruel message that I don't regret at all. Sorry, but this post will have a lot of bad energy, and I'm terrible at writing in English. So if anyone is going to read the post, I'm sorry for all the grammatical errors that are likely to be in the post. P. So a few days ago I, female 25, found out that my sister 24 female, has been sleeping with my boyfriend. They always had a close relationship, but I obviously took it as something innocent. I don't like video games, but my sister does, so they talked a lot by text. And I thought it was about games they like until I found out that no, they talked a lot about their secret dates while I was working and in college. I found pictures, videos and a lot of other disgusting things in the chats between my ex and my sister. My pathetic sister found pleasure in asking my pathetic ex all the time if she's smarter or prettier than me. She even compared our private parts, with we're both pretty, she's actually thinner and prettier than me, and even if she's an introvert she has her group of friends, so I really don't understand where she got so much venom towards me. Our parents never compared us or anything like that, and she was always the one asking my ex to compare both of us in the chats. The first thing I did was throw all my ex-boyfriend's things out of the apartment. I insulted him in 1,000 ways and I kept the PC that I gave him for Christmas. I didn't speak a single word to my sister for over a week. And she didn't contact me like the coward she is until yesterday, when she sent me a message trying to justify herself by saying that it was a mistake. Yes, a mistake that lasted more than a year. And that I should forgive her, because we're sisters and blah blah blah. At one point I thought, should I be the mature person in the situation, who doesn't let resentment speak for her? But then I realized that I've never been that kind of person. I took my phone and wrote a long message to my sister that I would love to write here. But I am sure that I would break the rules since I called her out in every possible way. And I wrote a lot of personal things too. I told her how much of a failure she is. And how she has always envied me, and that's why she needed to feel what it's like to be me for a second of her sad life. She sent me a voice message crying and saying that she's in a very weak moment mentally, but she's still with him. Mama. And I shouldn't make her feel worse and that she regrets it. I just reacted to her message with this emoji, and didn't even heard the long voice message until the end. Was it a low thing to attack her with all her flaws? Yes, but it's lower to betray your sister and believe that she's going to forgive you just because you share blood with her. Honestly, I feel really good after sending her that message and feel that it was therapeutic to take out everything I feel to give closure to that. Both too, I've never used a PC for gaming, but I'm looking for tutorials on YouTube about how to download The Sims. I helped my sister in every moment of her life. I literally fought for her when she was being bullied during high school. I helped her thousands of times to make friends. I even accompanied her everywhere she wanted. It is a betrayal that really hurts and I will never forgive. Never. It hurts me that she slept with someone I loved. But it hurts me a lot all the things I read in those chats. How she enjoyed watching him compare me to her. Or how she asked him about personal things about our relationship just to laugh at it. She's dead to me and my parents knows it. I don't even care if I'm a bad person like them. This is something I can't forgive. And I don't even feel bad for my reaction. Comments. Comment 1. Comment 2. I don't understand anyone who will sleep with their sibling's partner. That is the most off limits of people. My Bill is a good looking guy, but he's my sister's husband. I wouldn't sleep with him if he paid me to do it. Update 1. As a token of appreciation, and because I also like it when the op uploads the whole gossip, I will put here half of the message I sent to my sister. The message I sent her was really long, and I cut out the parts where I talk about very private things or when I insulted her to not make the post too uncomfortable. Because I was really hurt and angry at that moment, and I talked about many personal things in the text. I will put the copy of the message in the end if someone talks Spanish. I'm sorry if it sounds weird in English. I did my best to translate it, and I had to remove a lot of parts. I'm not interested in hearing any of your excuses. I believed you when a problem she had with her ex-friend group happened, because I really trusted that you would never do something like that, but now I understand why everyone leaves you alone, and you deserve it. What you did to me is a shit. And you know it, but you didn't care because you spent a year being the whore of X name, without any shame, and now that I found out everything you went days without talking to me. Because you are a coward, and on top of that you still don't care about what you did to me. You're only talking to me because Dad probably stopped talking to you. And you're running out of money. So you want to fix this shit, so he gives you money again. You were always an asshole, but don't you think it's a lot to be my boyfriend's second woman? How little respect do you have for yourself? We're sisters, I don't even know what's going on in your head, because I don't understand what's wrong with you. Girl, I read all the messages between you and you even started comparing our bodies, you're sick. You know that I never did anything for you to do this to me, and I loved you. But everything turned out really well for you, because he's with you, so enjoy that feeling, and the love you two have for the other for now. Because you are going to be really lonely later and you are going to go back to your cave, but this time I am not going to be there to pity you like Everett Jolly can like. Stay with him, there's nothing that interests me less than fighting for an idiot, who is surely going to leave you, but let me make it clear to you, that you're not going to hear about me again. This dies here. We are not sisters anymore. If I see you on the street, then I'm going to cross to the opposite sidewalk to not see you. No me interesa escuchar ninguna de tus excuses. Yo te creo cuando pasó de a problem she had with her ex-friend group porque de verdad que meredazgum nunca vos nunca harías algo así. Pero ahora entiendo porque todas te dejan y te lo mereces. Lo que me hiciste una cagada y vos lo sabes. Pero no te importa porque estuviste anunciando la trola de ex name vergüenza. Y ahora que me entero de todo estuviste días. Sin hablarme porque sos recagona y encima te sigues sin importar. Lo que me haces. Solamente me estás hablando porque papá seguramente te cortó el rostro. Y te estás quedando sin plata así que quieres arreglar tu cagada para que vuelvan a depositar. Siempre fuiste una pelada frata fracada pero no te parece un montón rebajar de es nivel de ser la segunda de mi novio. Tan poco respeto te tienes a vos misma. Somos hermanas, no sinocas de panabros de cabeza porque posta no entiendo que te pasa. Flaca, lee todos los mensajes entre ustedes y te pones a comparar nuestros cuerpos, estás reenferma. Puede canal, no hay nada que me interese menos que pelear por un idiota que seguramente te va a dejar, porque te que claro que de mí no vas a volver a escuchar. Acá muer. No somos más hermanas y si te veo en la calle cruza de vereda. Edit, yes, I'm from Argentina. Update 2. When all of this happened, my parents scolded my sister and she got offended, and didn't speak to our parents except to ask them for money. She asked them for money to buy things for her career. But then my aunt told my parents that my sister actually used that money to buy my ex some sneakers. My parents never gave her any money from that day on. She's an idiot. My parents started to pay for us to go to private college, and the only thing we have to do is literally study. The only thing she had to do was take her studies seriously, but she didn't. So my father got tired, and hasn't sent her money for months. My ex discovered the post because he said it went viral on Facebook, and obviously he recognized the story. He contacted me to apologize, and said he knows he did wrong by hurting me like that, but my sister manipulated him, and it was a total mistake. I told him he can shove his apologies in the ass. Meanwhile, my sister and I have only crossed paths a few times, but she always avoids me because she thinks I'm going to hit her. I won't. We're not going to the same career, so we luckily don't see each other too much. Anyway, a few days ago she went to our parents' house saying that she broke up with my ex. Why? And that she felt really sad and had an anxiety attack. I don't know exactly what they talked about, since I wasn't there, but my mother told me that she told my sister that she knew what was going to happen when she slept with him. And Ben, my sister justified herself by saying that they're in love, so my mother and her just argued again and my sister left. Now she doesn't talk to anyone in the family, except our grandmother, to ask for money. I know my sister is not going to change her bad habits, and she didn't learn anything from this. I even think she will get together with my ex again, because they're just toxic with each other. But it's her life to ruin, not mine, and I don't care anymore. The bright side, I sold the pee to a guy from Reddit that saw my post, and that really saved me from having to keep paying the dues. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play The Sims much, but I prefer the extra money. My ex had told me that he wanted the peaks back, but I told him that then he should pay the remaining dues, and each he said no. So the idiot wanted the peaks for free, even though he slept with my sister. The weird side. There are YouTubers who are literally charging their subscribers to read the post or other Reddit posts in their podcast. At least give me a share of the profits. I know it's a boring update, and probably everyone wanted that the update was my sister begging for forgiveness, and my ex suffering, but no, they are just two idiots who deserve each other, and nothing more happened. But even today I received a message asking me for an update. Haha. Now, for the next story. My dad showed up at my apartment with toys for two young kids, except I don't have any kids. I, 25 female, do not have kids and have never been married. My dad, 49 male, came to my apartment with gifts for two very young kids, and just exploded when I tried to ask what he was talking about. Long time lurker. First time posting. I am coming to you, the brains of Reddit that always find some angle I never considered. Because my dad did something so wild yesterday and I am spinning myself in circles about it. I'm trying to settle on an answer, but nothing really adds up. I'll break it down as thoroughly as I can, but my family has enough drama that it could fill 10 novels, so I'll be very to the point about it. So I will reiterate, again, that I do not have any kids and am not married. I have never been married, never even moved in with a man. Here are the people I can think of that might be involved in this somehow. I have one brother, 27 male, and one sister, 22 female. Brother is in a long-term relationship with a nice woman, but they're both not interested in kids right now. Sister still lives at our mom's house, no kids, no long-term partner. My parents are divorced and my mom remarried, dad stayed single. He lives with my uncle, 40s. Male, and uncle's wife, 40s. Female. Stepdad is fine, they got married after I was out of the house. Sister reports that they're normal and beige together. He has no kids and has never met my dad anyways, so his family can be removed from the equation. Here's what happened. I have a shitty, low-rent apartment about 45 minutes away from my dad's house. It's on the 3rd floor, and you have to walk into the apartment building and up flights of stairs to reach my door. Yesterday around 6 p.m. my dad knocks on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting him, so when I answered I was confused but pleasantly surprised. I greeted him normally and he gave me a side hug because he had a few toy boxes in his hands. Like Fisher-Price toys for really young kids, even babies. I didn't say anything about them, because I had no reason to assume they were for me, like I just didn't even register them in my brain. He looked totally normal. He wasn't breathing weird, wasn't sweaty, his pupils weren't huge, nothing was off with him visually. When we hugged I didn't smell anything weird, no alcohol or smoke or anything. But my face wasn't too close to him. I said I was happy he dropped by, but why is he here? He said he was in the area shopping when saw these toys, which he then held up for me proudly, and wanted to give them to the girls. I said who? And he gave me two names I didn't recognize. I remember my brain sorting through the Rolodex of everyone I've ever met in our family, Terminator style, and nobody matched. As I'm standing there trying to match the names to any kids I knew of, he peeks over my shoulder into the apartment and asks if the kids are here or if they're with Mike. Again, who is that? Apparently it's my husband. I must have been radiating confusion since now my dad is looking just as confused as I am, but still keeping up a good mood kind of vibe. I tell him I am not married and have no kids. At first he insisted I did, and when I reiterated that, he just kind of shook his head. At this point I'm getting really concerned. Is my dad lost? Confused? Is he having some kind of breakdown? I ask my dad if he knows where he is. He starts to get frustrated really quickly and confirms that yes, he knows where he is and who I am. I start to ask him questions that I've seen in movies like, do you know what time it is? Or the year? And he just gets more and more angry. He starts shouting at me right in my face, yelling, you think this is funny? And are you trying to make me look stupid? There's bubbles of spit in the corners of his mouth. He went from 0-100 so fast it genuinely kind of scared me, and I just retreated a bit into my apartment. When I backed away he took it as a personal offense and started screaming, oh, now you re-scared? You re-scared of me? Guess I'll just fuck off then. He storms off, literally stopping his feet like a child down the hallway. I thought about chasing him, but he was so irate that I didn't think it was a smart move. Whole interaction was less than 5 minutes. I closed and locked my door and immediately started making phone calls. Called my mom, uncle, and siblings. Nobody has any idea what just happened. I did ask my mom and sister if I was the crazy one and did have children I just forgot about. They confirmed I certainly didn't. Uncle says that dad left the house around 4 p.m. to run errands in my area. so that part was true. I told him what happened, and he said he'd try to figure out what's going on and would call with updates. It's tomorrow morning and I haven't heard anything back. I spent all night trying to figure this out. Here are my theories. He has another kid somewhere that none of us know about. And that kid is married with 2 kids. But if that's true, why my apartment? Did he confuse me with his other, hidden kid? He confirmed he knew where he was, so I'm not sure. Did he drive here on autopilot? He'd have to get out of his car and walk all the way up here though, which should have been enough time to snap out of it. The anger might have come from him realizing what he'd done and panicking, but it would have been so easy to make up a lie about what happened. He had some kind of mental breakdown. This was my first thought, but he looked and acted so normal. He drove out here and went to a store and purchased items without issue, so he must have been in decently sound mind to do that. Maybe he was somewhere else in his mind. I considered the idea that he was maybe in the past and thought I was someone else, but again he confirmed where he was and who I was, and I didn't recognize any of the names as anyone in our family. He did this on purpose for some reason. I have no idea why he would do this. Drama? Our whole family loves to stir the pot, but this is extreme and makes him look bad, which is out of character. If he were to manufacture drama, he'd want to make himself look good, so this would be a drastic switch in his dramatics. Maybe sympathy? Maybe he's going to play this up as some kind of stress breakdown? As far as I know, his job doesn't squeeze him too much. He's had the same position for years and was pretty happy with it. The most he complained about was having to work overtime every once in a while. He's developing dementia. I know early onset dementia could be the cause, but he's just barely 50. Yeah, he's getting older, but not that old, and he's never shown any signs of cognitive failure up until this exact point. This is a huge escalation from nothing. If anyone else has any idea what is happening here, please share. Uncle has yet to call me back and my siblings can't get through to my dad's phone. I think it's dead. I left a voicemail and texts on my uncle's line, but who knows if he's seen them. I don't have any authority in his life. The only one that does is my brother, and he lives in another state, so it's not like he can help much. What the fuck happened to my dad? Comments. Comment 1. Please tell me that this isn't true. If true, my heart hurts for you. I have opened up on Reddit, it's anonymous, and been called a fake. I think sometimes we just don't want to believe the shit that other people have to deal with. This one feels true to me. Comment 2. TBIs are so fucking serious. My mother has had 2 bad ones in the last several years. By bad I mean she couldn't remember anything from one minute to the next for several hours. Each time it was a literal fight to get her to the hospital. My stepdad was willing to let her decide. Yo dude, she can't remember, she's not in a position to advocate for herself. She didn't have a brain bleed either time luckily, but it's fucking terrifying and emotional, and comes with a boatload of baggage after that. No one really talks about depression, anxiety, memory problems, etc. Update. Located my dad. I'm with him in the hospital. He has serious brain damage from a fall. I don't think he fell, but what do I know? Hi everyone. I wanted to wait until I had more information to post an update, but a lot of people were seriously worried about my dad and I, so I wanted to let everyone know what happened. I finally found my dad. My uncle took him to the hospital the night of the incident, and was for reasons I'll get to ignoring our calls and texts. Anyone who bet on head injury and drugs, you're correct. You can cash out your chips at the front counter, haha. There was no second family. I wish there was. My dad would just be in drama-related trouble, and not medical trouble. He's got a massive concussion and serious brain damage. Doctors don't know how he managed to even drive to my apartment safely. They think he was on autopilot, since he takes that freeway nearly every day. The phantom kids are his coworkers. His brain somehow blended the details of his coworker's life into his own. Coworker has a daughter who is married and has 2 kids, and the memories of being told about the girls mashed together with memories of his own daughter. Doctor says this is pretty common with head injuries. My uncle did find my dad and take him to the hospital. He did drive out to my area and scour the place looking for my dad, and eventually found his car outside Walmart around 10 p.m. Couldn't find him outside, but did find him out behind the building, harassing an employee for a cigarette. He grabbed my dad and kind of dragged him into the car and took him to the hospital. He just decided not to update anyone, because he didn't want to stress us out. I don't believe him at all. I think my uncle is responsible for what happened to my dad, and was avoiding us out of guilt. After I posted here, I went to work, and once I was clocked out, I went to my uncle's place. Dad and uncle's cars were gone, only my aunt's was there. I went and knocked, but nobody answered. People in my last post mentioned carbon monoxide poisoning and I was kind of freaking out thinking my aunt was just fucking dead inside. So I went around the house testing the doors and windows to see if I could get in. The back door was unlocked, so I just let myself inside and looked around. Totally empty. I even checked underneath the bed since a couple people mentioned my dad could be paranoid or scared and hiding. My aunt has this giant purse and it wasn't there, which confirmed to me that she was probably with my uncle. I went back and sat in my car and started calling any hospitals and jails that came up on Google Maps. Nobody had any answers and just said he wasn't there. I even called the cops for a wellness check just to see if maybe they could call around hospitals and get a different answer. But I waited until 11 p.m-ish and literally nobody came. No police, no family, nobody. I drive back home and try to get some sleep. Next day I call out of work and spend the day driving around my area trying to find my dad. Couldn't track him down, so I start calling hospitals again. There's 3 in my area, and while 2 of them gave me no, he's not here, sorry. One of them got really nervous over the phone and said I'm not supposed to give out patient information. I got suspicious. Kept asking, and she just got more and more flustered. Hung up and drove my ass over there, and saw my uncle's car in the parking lot. It was kind of late, the sun was down, but I wasn't keeping track of time, so there were only like 5 cars in the visitor area, and his was one of them. I do not have words to describe what I was feeling, but it was mostly just rage. Like what the fuck? Hello? He's been here the whole time? I went in and tried to get the receptionist to let me see my dad. She didn't really want to let me, and I'm not proud of it, but I started freaking out. I slammed my hands on the desk, screamed, knocked over a magazine rack. I guess my tantrum made someone go talk to my uncle and aunt since she came out to the waiting room and told the receptionist it was fine to let me through. If she didn't look so tired and sad I was going to maul her, but the look on her face made me calm down, if you can call it that. Long story short, she took me to my dad's room. He looked terrible. None of you know my dad, but he's a beast. He's 5'8" with massive smile lines and bright, shining eyes. He's my dad, so I'm biased. But he's always so full of life. Laying in that hospital bed, he looked dead already. Sunken eyes, lifeless and droopy face. He looked empty. I was able to talk to him for a bit, but he was totally out of it. He had to be reminded who I was several times and kept forgetting where he was and why he was here. Just like my dad. When I get upset, I get angry. I practically dragged my uncle out of the room and into the hallway for an explanation. After like 20 minutes of him making excuses and beating around the bush another reason I think he's guilty, he told me what happened. Apparently Monday morning, my dad fell getting out of his car and cracked his head really hard against the driveway. He got up and everyone thought he was fine, so they just went inside the house as normal. After a while he had a headache, so they gave him a couple prescription painkillers to ease the pain. Apparently that worked, so they just let him continue his day as normal. They only got concerned when I called and told my uncle what happened. He kept being so weird and evasive that I know there's more, but I couldn't wring his stupid fucking neck in the hospital hallway, so I just let it go. Here's what I think happened. I know my uncle and dad. And I know the history of this stupid family like the back of my hands. I think my dad and uncle got in a fight over something and dad was either pushed down or hit in the head by my uncle. The altercation gets resolved somehow and they go back to normal, but my dad's head still hurts. I learned at the hospital from the doctor that there were enough painkillers in his body to numb a horse, so I suspect my aunt and uncle just kept feeding him painkillers so they wouldn't need to take my dad to the hospital and admit what they did. I pressed my aunt about the painkillers and she eventually halfway admitted that they weren't exactly allowed to have them at all. I suspect she bought them off someone else. They're likely addicted and I just didn't know. I'm almost 100% sure this is their fault. If they had taken my dad to the hospital as soon as he hit his head, he would probably be okay. I'm staying at the hospital now and my aunt and uncle have left. Doctor says to not get my hopes up about my dad. But when doctors say that, it always means he'll actually be okay, right? That's how it always goes. They tell you that your family member probably won't make it, but they always prove them wrong. I'm sorry, but the rest of this is just going to be venting. You know what really gets me? I could handle all this, I could understand it. My uncle and aunt have always been less than reliable. I can believe that this could come from them. The hardest part is the lack of concern from literally anyone but me. I had to blackmail my brother Drama from a year ago to even get him to agree to fly out. My mom doesn't care. Dad's family doesn't care. My sister kind of cares, but she doesn't really want to help, or even come support me in the hospital with him. I am just so shocked that I'm the only motherfucker here for my dad, and he doesn't even know who I am right now. I have to take time off work, but it's not like my job gives me PTO. I'm fucked. My dad is fucked. My life is fucked. Why am I the only one dealing with this? My brother is the only one of us with time and money to help fix this, and I had to threaten him just to get him to come back home. I wish I had chased my dad when he left my apartment. I was afraid of him, but I'm even more afraid now. My dad is probably going to die, and I trusted the jackass who killed him with helping him. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with everyone? Why doesn't anyone give a shit about my dad? Why doesn't anyone give a shit about me? I could have been a better daughter to him. I could have visited more, called more, involved him in things more. I could have chased him when he left my apartment. I might have gotten hurt, but I would rather be beaten to a pulp rather than be sitting in a hospital room with my unconscious and probably dying father. I'm so fucking stupid. I'm sorry, Dad.